Hi everyone, hi friends, hope you're all doing well, taking care of yourselves, all that sort of stuff. It has been some time since we've done a Yap session. People have been asking me, you know, like 4 people in particular have said, hey, can you talk about Overwatch on your second channel again? I said, okay, fine. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know why. I kind of just am terrible at talking to a camera off stream. It feels weird. It feels off, you know what I mean? Because I'm sitting alone in my room and I'm talking to you. That's right, you. You better not be on the toilet right now. High five. Boom. Alrighty. So, Season 3 is coming towards an end, and what did I think about it personally? I thought it was okay. You know, it's not some season that was like life-changing or amazing, but it had its moments where it was really good, but then it had its moments where it went, and I was just kind of like, it evens it out, so it puts it into this like, you know, it's like a mid-season, but it's not like, it means it's bad, it just means it's like one of those average seasons where like, you know, it still had its good moments here and there, but like there was also the bad moments, so it kind of balances out in a more interesting way, right? But I had some fun moments. I think I made some pretty fun videos this season. There was some pretty fun stuff. We had the Borga Bash, which was with Tyler One and a couple of other creators. That was really, really fun to play in. I love doing Overwatch tournaments, especially if it's like new Overwatch players. I made like 1 or 2 new friends from that who are outside like the Overwatch space. So that was really fun. You know what I mean? I love doing like streamer stuff. You know, I love playing in Marvel Rivals tournaments, for example, because it's always like time for me to like maybe make a new friend or like someone to play with in the future or something like that. And it's the same thing with Overwatch, right? So it's always really fun, you know, to do that sort of thing, because it's like, you know, at the end of the day, I might meet someone new to like hang out with, or like, you know, get them into Overwatch, or like maybe they get me into whatever they play or something like that. And it's all fun all around, you know what I mean? So I always have fun doing that sort of stuff. So that was a great tournament. But yeah, pretty good season. Had a lot of fun making a lot of videos. A lot of stuff I tried. You know, I changed up my thumbnail style. Shout out to Mine for a Dream. You know, the guy that does the Lucio renders. People seem to really like the new thumbnail style. So that's all good. I always do appreciate like the feedback on that stuff. If you like that sort of thing, let me know. You know what I mean? But anyways, moving on. Let's start off with the new hero. That's right, Sojo. Nah, of course, Shion, Overwatch's brand new Omnic character. Goodness gracious, wowee zowie. I love this character. I don't really have much to complain about this character. I am so glad we have an Omnic back in the game again. Like, the last Omnic character was Ramatra, right? What the hell are you doing here, Ralph? Anyways, you know, we hadn't got an Omnic character in ages, and it really annoyed me that Overwatch was spending so much time on just releasing human after human after human after human after all by Daft Punk. And I was just like, okay, we finally got an Omnic character. I will say her design isn't, you know, super crazy in terms of like, you know, of what like, you know, most Omnics have looked like in Overwatch with like Zenyatta and Ramatra, but I still think she looks cool regardless. It was really funny because I said I like this character's design. People then said I was getting paid off by Blizzard to say this sort of stuff. But a couple of weeks ago, I was complaining about Overwatch. And then they said, you're complaining about Overwatch too much. And I'm like, okay, I'll start being positive about Overwatch. And when I started being positive about Overwatch, people were saying I'm getting paid off by Overwatch. What is it, guys? What do you want me to do? You know? But yeah, I like Shion. I think the design could have been, you know, more crazier or something like that. But regardless, I still think it looks really cool. I'm such a big fan of the whole, like the tiger thing being on the back of her hair. Obviously, the lighting isn't super good here, so you can't really see it. A bit weird that the mic drop and stuff doesn't seem to be working on her yet. And obviously she is lacking like a bit in the cosmetics department, but she'll probably get like a whole bunch next season. This is like a character where she is so fun to play that it's like, even if I'm losing on this character, I'm still having so much fun. You know, I'm not really getting frustrated because it's like, you can play a character like Genji, for example, right? Jesus Christ, can we get off this skin? You have a character like Genji, for example, where it's just like, okay, you can be having a really good game on Genji, but then the enemy team can swap to like a whole bunch of counters for you, and then you won't really be having that much fun anymore. Like if they go a bunch of beam characters, you know, you can't really you can still do stuff against that, but it becomes a lot harder, right? And oh my god, I just spilled water on my keyboard. Okay, I'm back after spilling water all over my keyboard. Yeah, so what I was going back to, Genji's like one of those characters where you could be having a really good time, but then the enemy team goes like a whole bunch of counters, and it makes the game a lot harder for you, and it might make the game less fun. Shion, for example, is like one of those characters where it still feels like they can play counters into you, like maybe Chaos or something like that, but you can still easily adapt. You can still make plays in this character. You can still be useful in this character. And it's great. Like, it's so fun. I don't really find many flaws in this character. The one thing that did suck was the like recovery nerf after using a right click, but they did change it back to like 0.3 seconds or I think or something. The bike damage is really cool. Being able to throw a bike into the enemy and doing like damage is so fun. You know, it's so awesome. You know, the only criticism is I think her minor perks are a little bit just like, you know, Ex Machina. Like, you might as well make this base kit at this point because no one takes evade reloads 9 ammo. And along with that as well is that when you're shooting and you dash, you just can't shoot anymore. Which I don't know if that's a bug or if that's just meant to be intentional. But it feels really weird to be in a 1v1 with someone and then just like dash and you can't shoot for a second. And there's like a small grace period where you just can't shoot anymore. But for some reason, if you're holding down this, you can, you know, dash and hold right click at the same time. So I don't really know, 6-7, what's the whole point of all that, you know? I will say like the whole backstory of Shion's lore is really, really cool. I do wish they went a little bit more crazier with it. Like they did the whole thing of like her versus Sojourn. That was awesome. But I do wish that the whole backstory of how she was like a bot that was attacked like non-stop and used for like training purposes was a bit more like animated, I guess. I don't know if that really makes sense, but it's like a story that I think is really, really good. And I think it would be really important for Overwatch, but a lot of people aren't really going to sit there and watch like the novel where the character is just going, like, because that was just kind of like what it was, right? I thought it was a really, really cool, like, deep dive into her lore and all that sort of stuff. But a lot of people are going to miss that sort of thing because it's not really animated. But Shion's lore so far is really, really cool. And she's such a cool character that she actually made me like Mizuki as a character. How wild is that? I didn't really like Mizuki because, number one, his voice lines in game are a little bit, well, they're very corny. I don't really like the, if we don't move the payload, I'm going to be mad. We on help. I'm stuck in the Hashimoto hideout. You know what I mean? I'm not really a big fan of that sort of stuff. You know, maybe if I was like 16 or something like that, maybe I would have enjoyed it. But it's just not for me personally. And if you like it, that's fine, right? But, you know, younger me would have definitely loved Mizuki as a character. You know what I mean? But yeah, Shion was such a good character. She actually made me like Mizuki as a character. And I was like, okay, yeah, this character is incredibly good. And the thing that is crazy about Shion, she's such a simple, straightforward character. You have 2 guns, you have dash, you have bike that you can throw into enemies, but you can also launch and, you know, like do this. You have a right click, right? And then you have an ult, which dashes, stays in the same spot or dashes. And it's whatever direction you want to go. It is such a simple character. And you don't need to make characters in this game, like, have so much stuff in order for them to be, like, super interesting. Like, she is such a straightforward character. You have gun, dash, bike, right click, which might seem like a lot, but if you look at a lot of the other characters in the game, it feels like they have a lot going on, especially the tanks and maybe some of the supports, right? But I'm like, oh my god, she's so cool. She's so cool. But yeah, Shion's a lovely character. Big fan of her personally. If you don't like her, fair enough, and all that sort of stuff. But it's awesome that we finally got another Omnic in the game. I think Shion should have been one of those characters that released in the original 5 that came with like Overwatch 1, Season 1. I feel like she would have fit in perfectly. I always found it so weird. They did 4 human characters and then 1 cat. And then there was no Omnic in there. But we finally did get an Omnic, and that was awesome. She should have been one of the characters that should have been in that like 5 there, because I feel like she would have gotten so much more praise by the player base. But I think she's a very popular character. I think she's very loved by the player base. So, you know, that's really awesome. It does make me very, very happy to see Omnics getting love in Overwatch, because they're my favorite type of character in Overwatch. You know, Overwatch is like all about this game with like Omnics and, you know, like more so super like high-tech stuff and cybernetic future, blah, 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 all that sort of thing. And it's like Omnics are so not really used to their full potential, you know, in this, which is like, you know, and they're finally doing it again. So that's awesome, right? Sorry if my wording is bad. You know, I'm a little bit still freaked out that I almost broke my keyboard with water. Anyways, Neon Junction. This map sucks. I don't like this map at all, man. I do not like this map one bit. It's a payload map, hybrid map. If you know me, I don't really like hybrid payload games, maps that much. I will say, I think the only payload map that I enjoy is maybe like Rialto, but that's because you can boop people off the bridge. Oh, he doesn't like this map because there's no boop spots. Actually, there is one singular boop spot. But if you ask me my honest opinion of what this map is, it's, you know, King's Row, but set in Japan. And literally, if you look at King's Row side by side, this is literally just mirrored King's Row spawn. You come out of spawn here, right? This is the bus, but facing the other way. That's the high ground facing the other way. You go in a point. There's a big statue facing the other way. And then there's a little flank. Example, hotel that can lead you to point, right? Or sends you around the back to point. But there's a little bit more openings. And then, of course, there's a high ground over the left here. Like, that's the 3-lane thing, right? That takes you up to the high ground on point. So it's like, I don't know. It really just feels like Kings Row 2.0 for this point alone, right? And it was very hard to full cap this because I felt like a lot of teams got back here really, really early. And I think they had to buff how fast you were capping this point because originally it was pretty slow. But, you know, there's that, right? I will say, to get this out of the way, because I am going to complain about this map heavily, beautiful map. Absolutely gorgeous map. Absolutely amazing how beautiful this map looks. So many awesome details. It was so cool to see the Yoasobi stuff at the top here. That was really, really cool. Like the whole statue stuff. Like all these stores. Like if you run around the map, you can like go read all the stuff, and it's like really, really fun to go through like, you know, everything. I do say, like, if you really want to have like, you know, it's really fun looking at Overwatch maps, like just in a game all by yourself, and like listening to like all the sounds they have put into the maps. Like it's really cool. Because I think in like some areas they have like special unique music that plays, and it's like, I don't know, like this is so cool. Like this is so awesome. I really love this sort of stuff, right? But then you come into the second point here, and it's kind of like, okay, people have kind of given up on using this, at least in high ranks, like this whole area, because the whole gimmick with this is that there's a train that comes flying through and kills you. It gives you like a little warning, you know, this little thing. Oh my god, there's a train! But if you hit it, you instantly die, right? So, you know, there's that, right? But I feel like a lot of people don't really use this flank as much anymore. And a lot of people are kind of just stuck to pushing the payload through here, sitting at this little choke here, and just like spamming down until someone gets picked, or someone overpositions, or someone builds an ultimate, or something like that. And it's kind of just like, you know, I don't know what this map is, this point is missing in particular. Maybe it needs like another little flank or something like that. But I kind of just feel like, for example, this area here is so closed in. To really be like pushing up here, like, because it's like if I want to hold an angle here, it's so unsafe. Like it is so unsafe because the train could come back at any time, and this is so enclosed as well. So it's like if I'm playing around here, team is holding around this area, I need to rotate over here so quickly. But more than likely, since really from a team's perspective, like if the train is coming, you're dead. You only have this way to go. They can go, oh, this guy's going on a flank. We can just quickly turn for this guy because there's only one way they can come through. It's not like they're going to flank through this area or something like that at that point. But yeah, second point, not really that good either. It just very much feels like one very long straight line. But then you come to third point. This might be one of the worst third points I have ever played in my entire life. I have so many situations where this is the most defender-sided area from my experience, because this area a little bit more open. But once you get here, what the hell do you do except for wait for ultimates come up? The neutral game is like, okay, you have this area up here, but it's so unsafe to ever like play up here, right? And you can set an Ana up here, for example, where she has this gigantic cover, right, to just chill out, and then she can just walk all the way back to spawn and quickly heal up or something like that, or go out of line of sight. And if you don't have any mobility, like if you want to get to this Ana, realistically, the flanks you have are so tiny. It's like original Circuit Royale, where it's like, okay, there's an Ana sitting up on high ground, someone needs to deal with her, right? We need to dive on her. You're going all the way to the enemy spawn to get rid of a character, which is crazy to me personally, who also has really good cover. These railings can't be broken, so you can even take cover behind this as well, right? But it's like you have to either go straight down main, speed boost on them while the tank is looking at you, right? Or you can go from this angle, but you're going to get spotted. You're going to get spotted by a DPS. You're going to get spotted by a support. And then by the time you're here, it's like you have to invest in movement ability. There's no other like way to get to this high ground just by walking up. So like, let's say, for example, like a Lucio is holding up here. A Winston jumps up. I just boop him. What's he going to do? He can't do anything for another like 5-6 seconds. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it just feels like it's an absolute pain in the ass to attack this point. Every time I played it, it feels like the only time you are winning is, number one, when you're about to get a third point, they don't swap to stall heroes at all. They do not swap to stall heroes whatsoever. People love going Diva. People love going Mei here and all this sort of stuff, sitting on point so people can just regroup and get back to the fight more easily, right? Or they're complete utter dog water and they do not know how to like use their ultimates at all. Because once you get ultimates, it feels like you win around this area. But once you get to this part over here, it becomes a lot more harder to attack. But yeah, that's my opinion of Neon Junction. It's kind of just like, I don't know, man. It just feels very like, it feels like Kings Row again, where it's like very closed in, but it's like a little bit mirrored around and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, okay, that's kind of cool, but Nah, it's not really fun for me personally. I'm not really having a good time at it. But if you like this map, that's cool. That's fine. I think it's visually stunning. I think it's awesome. I think the little train thing is awesome. I love it when there's map gimmicks that aren't super in your face 24/7. Like a little train that comes through is really cool. I do wish there was a button or something like that where you could just spawn the train earlier. I think that would be really, really funny because, like, let's say, for example, you're playing cat. You know, you grab someone and then you press the button. The train comes in like 5 seconds. So you have to like hold in there for a moment. Like that would be really, really funny. Map gimmicks are always like something very interesting. Some people might not like them, but I think it kind of just adds to the whole, you know, maps, like especially payload and hybrid maps, they can feel very much the same. And it's like adding little cheeky gimmicks and silly stuff here and there, I think makes them a little bit more fresh. Yeah. Okay. Now going back to the practice range. Balance for this season. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I think the balance in this game is kind of just a bit all over the place. Like, I'm playing 5s and 6s, so it's a bit hard to say what is, like, balanced and all, and what's broken and all that sort of stuff. I mean, to be honest, Lucio's in a very... Okay. I'm gonna have to change that real quick. Wow. Okay. Lucio's in a really good state at the moment. More so not, like, broken. He's a little bit underpowered in some parts, but I don't think that's his fault. I just think it's that he's really good in team play. He's a character that's still, like, meta and all that sort of stuff. But if you want to play him in a slightly more aggressive play style, it's a bit harder. It's a bit harder, right? But as for balance, right? Cassidy is still the most broken, unfun character to verse in the game. Yes, I have Cassidy rants all the damn time. If you've been to my streams, you would know I absolutely despise this character. Because you ask yourself, people always do this comparison whenever a new hero comes out. They do the good old, he just has a gun. This character is the spawn of Satan in this game. Because what doesn't he have? Right, think about this for a second. Number 1, he has a gun, true. Number 2, his combat roll gives him damage reduction. Number 3, he has a hinder that does 75 damage that goes for 1.2 seconds, right? He has good tank damage early on if someone gets in his face with Fan the Hammer. Good consistent damage across the board at like a good chunk of ranges, right? He does really good mid-range damage. You know, obviously there is like a bit of fall off, but it's still pretty good, you know? And going on with that as well, his ultimate does kind of suck, but if you combo it with a jetpack cat, it suddenly becomes really, really good. Now we go into the fun part about Cassidy, where flashbang is already a really annoying thing because it hinders you for 1.2 seconds. Now you have a perk. Cassidy throws a second flashbang that travels further, but both flashbangs deal 40% reduced damage. It still does a lot of damage, and it has increased like distance. You know, the thing that like always kind of, also Silver Bullet is a thing that's in the game that I absolutely despise. They nerfed, they nerfed it down a little bit. But, God, it didn't do anything. It just felt like it did absolutely nothing at all. Because at the end of the day, yeah, the projectile size is smaller. But most people who play Cass have decent aim. It's not hard to hit these shots. 50 bleed damage over time is kind of crazy. Because you can simply just look at a target, go boom, boom. And the majority of the time, 190 damage for just like that? What the hell? This is crazy. I'm naked, you know? But Silver Bullet is absurd. And with the double flashbang, it hinders you for 1.2 seconds. My whole thing with Lucio, whenever I played against a Cassidy, is I developed incredibly good muscle memory to be able to know how to dodge a flashbang, right? So let's say in this scenario, Cassidy's in this area over here. I would speed at him and quickly turn like into a room very quickly, or run out of line of sight to dodge the flashbang. So he flashes in this area and he misses it, right? Or more so, it's like a last second juke when I'm about to jump on him to like run into a room because he might flash at his feet. And he's going to miss that flash entirely because I jumped into another room. But the problem is now, since he has this double flashbang with increased range, which I have to quickly get the perk and then show you what it is. In this scenario, if I run away into a side room or try to distance myself to him to dodge the flashbang, it doesn't matter because there's more flashbang range. It's not fun to buff crowd control abilities in like CC regards. Like if you have a CC ability and you buff it with a perk, that's not fun. That is not fun at all. That is not just fair to play into whatsoever, because it's like, you ask yourself, you know, regenerate 40 health per second for each enemy targeted by Deadeye. You know, the only time I see people ever take this is OWCS when they're running Cassidy, you know, for the high noons so they can stay alive longer in the end, get more value out of their high noons. So, you know, but like if you want to know, if you want to do something to flashbang, put the hinder back to 0.8 seconds or reduce the damage or something like that. I will take any nerf at this point or get rid of this stupid minor perk, because this perk is just not fun to play into whatsoever. I absolutely hate it. I hate how, like, you know, I worked on muscle memory for so long to be able to dodge flashbangs perfectly, just for it to just not work because they just gave him a perk that increased the range of it. So it's like, now the distance, I need to like train something else, right? It's like with Zarya Grav, where they buffed its grav range from 6 meters to 7 meters, right? Something that seemed to be really untouched very long, 6, 7. It was something that was very untouched for a very long time, but then they buffed it to an extra meter, and I still struggled to get the muscle memory correct of where exactly I need to stand to dodge grab, which sucks, right? But, you know, as for a lot of characters, it's very much just like, a lot of characters in this game are very strong. Kat is just absurdly broken, right? Kiri's in the state where she's still really, really good, but it's mainly just because of Suzu and Kitsune Rush. They've been nerfing her healing and all this stuff to her, but, you know, guess what? She's still really, really good. Moira is one of those characters that I feel like is kind of a sleeper pick. Like, she's really, really good now, because when she right-clicks you with her auto-aim ability with incredible range, she applies 30% global healing reduction to you. So 1v1ing this character becomes so much more harder if you have any sort of self-sustain, because she's life-stealing off you. She can throw out a damage orb, she can throw out a self-healing orb, and you're applying 30% healing reduction to her, but she heals a lot better than you do. So 1v1ing this character as Lucio is no-go. You cannot win this 1v1 anymore. The funniest part is, you want to know the best way to actually kill a Moira in a 1v1? It's during her ult. It is easier to kill this character during her ult than actually, like, in a normal 1v1, which is just absurd to me. Mizuki, incredibly good character. This character is busted. Chain is really good. Ultimate is amazing. Heals are really good across the board. This, and his teleport as well, is crazy, because you have an iframe with this, right? Like, Diva Bombs that come out, you can dodge stuff while using this teleport. He is really, really fun to play, and he's really strong. You know, as for, like, the DPS roster, Anran is one of those characters where it's kind of like, she's not super broken yet, but if they do buff her anymore, she's going to become an absolute nightmare to play into. I don't know why there's 2 characters in the game that now have, like, really strong iframes, because Anran has an iframe on a little E ability, right, which I don't enjoy versing whatsoever. The fire in my heart. Sorry. She's really annoying to play into, right? Bastion, Jetpack Cat Bastion is something that still gets played quite a bit every now and then. Not a fun comp to play into, but I do notice that Bastion is getting played a lot more in the higher ranks. When I'm talking about balance here, by the way, I should clarify, I'm talking more so top 500 champion level. You know, it might be a totally different experience of what rank you're in. So, you know, that's totally understandable. From my experience, Bastion is still really strong. I find a lot in 5s and 6s. If a tank is doing too much, people just swap Bastion for him. And I'm like, that's just really boring and corny and all that sort of stuff. Freya did get a buff. She's absolutely crazy now in high ranks. You know, Genji did get a buff. He is pretty decent, you know what I mean? Junkrat is in a pretty good spot right now, as Vulture would say. Yeah, Reaper's in a pretty fun spot. What the hell, Markiplier? Shion is wonderful to play. Sierra is one of those characters that's kind of a bit broken in lower ranks, but she doesn't really do super well in higher ranks. You know, and so on. Sojourn is still good. Sombra is one of those characters that still gets banned a whole bunch, but she's not really broken. Torbjorn is one of those characters that's kind of a sleeper pick, at least in 6s. But 5s, he's still pretty good as well. Symmetra's good if you have a coordinated team. Tracer is always just... okay. Vendetta's good. You know, they gave her a buff to her overhead and all that sort of stuff. You know, as for the tanks, I don't really think there's a bad tank in the game at the moment. I mean, next season, Reinhardt might be one of the characters that's actually found in the gutter. He's getting, like, the Lucio treatment. But you could still probably get value out of this character, you know what I mean? Because, you know, Demon coming out, I still feel like Ryan players will probably know what to do and lock in. But yeah, I don't think there's a single bad tank in the game right now. I think, like, Diva's good, Domina's pretty good, Doom is good, Hazard's good, Queen, I think she struggles a little bit, but I think that shout buff they did to her is you know, not too bad. Malga is one of the worst characters they've ever added to this game. I absolutely despise versing him. It's not fun. Orisa, I think she struggles a little bit at time, but she's still pretty good. Ram is... I can't believe this. I have to make a Ram hate host. I have to talk about how I actually despise playing against Ramatra now. He was so fun before, but ever since they added this thing where you can detonate his E mid-air, you can't escape this character. If he catches you with the E, and the range on the E explosion is insane as well. Someone in my chat the other day was saying they were struggling to land E's on Ramatra. There should be a perk where they can buff the range of it. Are you insane, mate? Are you actually insane? Come down to the good old Fish and Chippy. We'll have some food, and I'll tell you why you're absolutely insane. Goodness gracious, what crack are you smoking? I want it! You know? Ever since they added the detonate thing on Ram, he's been crazy good, right? Reinhardt, he's a bit of whatever. Like, Reinhardt players in 6s are really, really good, although in 5s, you don't really see him that much. rework this character again. Just rework this character, and if it's bad and the hog players don't like it, I don't care. Just keep it like that. I don't want to have to... I'm sick of banning this character. Sig, one of the best tanks in the game right now. He's really, really good. Winston, he's pretty good too, but obviously he's a bit hard to get value out of depending on how your team is. Hammond is one of those characters that people love to downplay a whole bunch, but, you know, he's still very, very good. People say, oh, Ball's so bad right now. I still think Ball is really good as long as his slam range is, like, gigantic and his mines last for, like, what, 50 seconds on point and all that sort of stuff. Hammond's one of those characters where I personally don't really have a lot of fun playing into, but I do have a good time chasing him around. Like, well, what can I say, guys? I love chasing balls around. And Zarya is just Zarya. We all know she's pretty good, you know? But yeah, I mean, the balance of this game is a little bit like everyone is kind of viable, which is good, I guess. You know, everyone seems to be very viable. I think there's a character that's really terrible at the moment. There might be a couple here and there. You know, like, it's like some people are obviously just, some heroes are just like kind of just very situational, like Venture and Vendetta, like, since they're more close range characters. You know, why would you play these characters when you can play like Reaper, who's a bit more close range, but he has more safety because, you know, he has the teleport, he has the Wraith form and all that sort of stuff. His health did get nerfed down, but, you know, yeah, it's like, you know, Vendetta's one of those characters. She's also really good now, but you need a little bit of follow-up. Well, that sort of mumbo jumbo. Okay, I'm talking a little bit too long about balance, but Lucio, can you believe it, guys? He's going to talk about Lucio being in a weird state. Lucio's one of those characters where he's really fun. He's always been so fun to play. They buffed his damage up to 22, which is a really good start, but I don't really know what this character... I feel like this character's identity is a bit weird at the moment. It feels like he's still very centered around speed boost and using beat drop, right? But they did nerf down the beat drop a little bit. And I'm just kind of like, okay, well, a little bit. It's actually one of the harshest beat nerfs I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, the beat lasting not as long anymore and having less overhealth. It's like, it should have been one or the other. Maybe it goes for 6 seconds again, or maybe it has more overhealth. But I find myself in a lot of situations where last patch I could use beat for Grav or Genji Nanoblade or something like that. It'd be very useful in that regard, and people would be able to stay alive for a very, like, a decent amount of time to be able to deal with a Genji, get away with all that sort of stuff. But it feels like the best way to use beat is if the enemy team has a Lucio, you beat straight after them. That is really the only time. You don't really use it for, like, certain ultimates, but that's like the best value I've gotten out of it. And it's always like a guaranteed fight win, because it's like if you have the better beat, you win the game. Now, the thing is I wanted to talk about is the game has movement creep. It is every single character that has come out, you've seen with Demon as well, has some form of mobility. And even Shion has it as well. Like, every character has some sort of dash or a teleport or something like that. The only character that doesn't really have it in most recent is Domina, but she has Stalwart, so she has 40% knockback reduction, right? But Anran, Emre with his grenade jumps and also being able to ult and also jump higher, like, obviously his movement isn't super crazy. You know, Mizuki has his teleport and his iframe. Cat just perma flies, you know what I mean? You know, it's like, I don't know what Lucio's boop really is meant for anymore. Like, yeah, it's cool. It's like you use it for, like, getting people off your team or something like that. But, you know, it's like, I like boop kills. That's, like, the best part about Lucio. But everyone has mobility now. Everyone has ways to get out of, like, jail cards when it comes to getting booped off the map. And I kind of, like, ask myself, it's like, does Lucio need something built in similar to how, like, Mercy has her flash heal or something like that to make the character a little bit more fun? I've been saying for ages that Lucio should be able to boop someone into a wall and deal, like, an extra, like, you know, 20 to 30 damage, and maybe it slows them for, like, a second, you know? And you might think I'm, like, absolutely insane for this idea or something like that, when his Cat, on the other hand, has something that pretty much is similar, right? Where if you scratch someone, it deals 40 damage over time, and then slows them for 30% for 1 second, you know? And it's like, the conditions for that is that you literally have to melee someone. For Lucio's one for work, you have to boop someone into a wall for them to get slowed down a little bit. And the only reason why I want this is simply just, if the game had less characters that had super high mobility, you know, I wouldn't really care that much. But it feels like a lot of the times when I go to boop a character, they usually just dash, or they're ready to just get back in. They usually just always have a gap closer to deal with me, and I always find that really irritating and really annoying and all that sort of stuff, right? So, you know, that's it. But the 20 damage is good. Boop is still on a 5-second cooldown. Should go back to a 4-second cooldown. I hate it. Or maybe a new perk, or maybe a new built-in thing where, like, if you boop someone into a wall, it deals, you know, additional extra damage. Now, obviously as well, I'm not going to talk too much in this one. I wanted to make a video on it, but 5v5 versus 6v6, I'm not going to go too heavy into this because the conversation around 5s versus 6s is really toxic. It's so bad that I just generally don't like having the conversation, because I feel like it brings out the worst in people. You know, I remember seeing stuff on my timeline when the quick play hacked happened, when they replaced 5v5 with 6v6, 1v2. I thought 1v2 was such a cool idea because it fixes the issue that people don't like playing sixes for. Number one, they don't like playing open queue because they want to play their favorite role. They want to play support, but there might be 3 support players on their team already. They want to play, you know, tank, but they're worried that they won't get, you know, or like they're worried they won't get a tank player on their team. But there's always one guaranteed tank player. 3 DPS can be a little bit weird, but if you think about it in the long run, if you don't like hit scans and hit scan stuff dominated the game like crazy, there would be actual nerfs for those characters. You know what I mean? So that's really cool and fun, right? But then again, it also fixes the queue times. One of the biggest issues that DPS is the most popular role in the game. I think it's a support versus DPS thing. I don't know which one's the most popular, but it's a close behind, right? One of those is either popular. DPS, you know, queues in Overwatch 1 used to be, you know, up to 7 minutes in most ranks, right? It was really, really bad for a bit. But, you know, there's that sort of thing, right? But to me personally, what I prefer more, 5v5 or 6v6, I still just say, you know, whatever Lucio's more fun in. And at the moment, Lucio is a lot more fun in 5s. I've been playing a lot more 5s recently. I've been having a more good time in it. But that doesn't mean I don't think Overwatch shouldn't try out 6v6 going forward. You know what I mean? And people are obviously getting really heated because they're like, why did they replace the 5v5 quick play hack thing? Well, that's obviously the most popular Overwatch game mode. Everyone is playing 5v5 quick play. A good chunk of the player base is playing it. They need data. They need data the best way possible to figure out if they want to pursue 6v6 going forward with Overwatch, or if they want to stick with 5v5. The most popular game mode should be used for data for a couple of days, so the Overwatch team could look at that and go, okay, players absolutely hate sixes. The casuals, the people that play our casual game mode, do not enjoy sixes that much. Or maybe high-rank players enjoy sixes a lot more, and then low ranks don't really like it that much because it's something brand new to learn. I think that's like a reason, obviously, a lot of people are turned away from sixes because it is still kind of a new game. You have to learn there is one extra tank. There's a different playstyle. It can be a little bit heal body with like the global healing passive being a thing, which they did nerf down and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it is like slightly different game to learn, so it can be a bit overwhelming, especially with one extra tank, you know, jumping you or something like that. So I'm not mad that I think it's fine that people prefer 5s. I think it's fine people prefer 6s, you know, and that sort of stuff. And I think you guys can have a normal conversation of what you enjoy personally, without needing to call someone a dictator or something like that, because they're comparing like 5v5 versus 6v6. They're political statements again. They're still doing it every single time. And I'm like, why? This community looks so bad when it does this sort of thing, and it makes me not want to join in the conversation. You know what I mean? I just make a joke tweet, and then I mute the tweet. I go about my day. I don't know why it is just such a toxic environment of 5v5 versus 6v6. I just don't get it. But yeah. Hopefully, maybe they'll see if they want to do 6v6 going forward. My only last thing about 6s is that maybe they should try 1 week, 2 weeks of a 6v6 ranked only mode. And, you know, maybe quick play as well. See if people like it. They get as much data as possible. See if the play rate of, like, things go up. Because I think 6v6 roll queue 2-2-2 just won't work. Oh my god, Miku fell off my desk. 6v6 roll queue will work for 1 or 2 seasons because tank queues will be alive. But tanks will get nerfed down a little bit. And then people won't really want to play the game anymore. And then it will lead back to what happened in the, you know, the Overwatch 1 where no one was really playing the game anymore. So it's just kind of just like, you know, yeah. In the long run, 2-2-2 roll queue, 6v6, it's not going to work. 1-3-2 is probably the way to go if they want to pursue something like that. Because at the end of the day, you can still get 2 tanks on your team. One of the DPS just needs to drop the ego and swap. But let's be honest for a second. No matter what rank you're in, more than likely the DPS players might not swap. Am I right, support players? High five. Boom. Anyways, yeah, that's that. 5v5, 6v6. You prefer what you want. Yeah, I'm fence sitting. Can you believe that? Now going on to the next one, which was the community crafted game mode. Summer Games obviously did come back as well, but there was nothing brand new about it. But community crafted was a cool idea. I love the idea of getting content creators in to make changes to the game. I think it's really, really fun. But it was between 4 content creators: OC, Apply, ML7, and Gushway. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, I wonder what they'll do for Lucio, like characters I play and all that sort of stuff, right? And I think it's like the same thing in the April Fool's game mode, where it feels like some players are doing things that they think would balance the game in a more fun way, while some people are doing balance changes to just be fun and clip farm on and have a good time with. You know, Lucio, for example, his change was Lucio can now speed boost the payload, but it wasn't really crazy or anything like that. It was like a very tiny change. It was very minuscule, which I don't know why it was so bare bones and basic, right? And then his Soundwave Rider minor perk, you could charge up your boop instead. But the problem with that is there was like a small delay on booping someone. So it actually made the perk worse, and it made the beat drop perk a lot better. So it wasn't really that good. And then the sound barrier changes no longer applies overhealth to Lucio. Ultimate charge not consumed until sound barrier is successfully cast, and now knocks back enemies within range. We've done the thing where Lucio's beat knocks back enemies so many times, and it just doesn't work. It never really works. It never really gets any value whatsoever, because it kind of requires Lucio players to beat like absolute psychopaths in the enemy's face to really get value with it and all that sort of stuff. So it's good if like Genji's about to dive you or something like that, but for me, it doesn't really work that well. And I felt the changes for Lucio are a little bit lackluster. And that's no flame to ML7 whatsoever. I know he doesn't play Lucio at all, so it's like, you know, it's unfortunate. But if you were going to ask me what I would do for something like this, I would probably make it based on Lucio's speed. He does more damage, similar to the stadium power. Or if you amp it up, you have it, you know, no like fire rate thing or whatever it is. Like you basically, whenever you shoot, there's no burst fire. It's just fully auto. I think that's really, really fun. I think that's really, really fun. I think it'd be a really cool change to try like full auto Lucio and like normals without needing to play stadium for it. And for beat, I just make it kill again. You can never go wrong with that. You know what I mean? But yeah, community crafter is a cool idea. I do think it should probably be like maybe clarified a bit more if it's focused on actually balancing the game into a healthy state, or if it's meant to just be silly, because you know, it's like Juno's ult deals damage to enemies within range. Like, Kiriko heals people with her kunais instead. And then you head over to, like, Roadhog, for example. And now he can, like, hit his teammates. Or he can grapple to his teammates or something like that. So it's like, okay, you know, it's a bit all over the place, right? Like, Reinhardt charge goes for 20 seconds. He also gets, like, a Berserker passive. So when he gets low, he runs faster and has faster attack speed. All that sort of stuff, right? There's a lot of stuff going on. So it's a bit all over the place. I don't know how the communication goes and that sort of thing. But yeah. I did make a video on Stadium. Rest in peace, Stadium. Well, it's not really coming to an end. It's obviously still going to get some balance patches every season or so. But it does make me very sad. You know, I did make a Yap video on it. Or more so like a discussion gameplay video where I talked a bit about it. And it was really awesome seeing feedback and comments on what people dropped Stadium for. It was really interesting because I thought people didn't really like how the game mode went to best of 5, where it was, you know, first to 3 points wins. But a lot of people said they really preferred when the game mode was like that, and when it went back to best of 7, they stopped doing it anymore. So it's so weird. It's so interesting because I know a lot of the diehard fans preferred the best of 7 format, but I personally like the best of 5 because, number one, it'd be really, really good for drives because you could speedrun that with ease. But I did drives in Stadium a little bit over the weekend, and my games were taking like 30 minutes to 35 minutes. And it's like, you know, if I'm someone who has a job, if I'm someone that has priorities in his life, you know, a 30-minute Stadium game might be a little bit too much. A lot of people play Overwatch because it's one of those games where you can log on, play a quick play game that goes for about 10 minutes, and then, you know, play like maybe 2 hours worth, and that's like, what is that, like 10 games played in like the course of 2 hours, depending on how fast the games have been going. So it's like, you know, it's nothing too whoa. Anyways, yeah, that's like the thing, right? But if a Stadium game's going for like 30 minutes, you know, I kind of don't really want to play anymore. It's like, I love like Deadlock as a game, bro. But the one thing that kind of sucks is that sometimes games can go for 40 minutes, 50 minutes, and I kind of just clock out at that point because it's like, oh my god, do my teammates know how to end? I'm in comms going, guys, let's end, and I haven't really played Deadlock in ages, but I really do love that game. Street Brawl is really, really fun. Big shout out to Deadlock, love that game. But yeah, Stadium's obviously, you know, no longer getting hero updates, map change, and all that sort of stuff. I was really upset because I really did want Stadium to be really popular, really good. I wanted to be that second part of Overwatch, where it's like, if you're not having fun with core, you can go play Stadium with some friends and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, the focus on it being competitive, the icon changes drew a lot of people away. It messed up a lot of muscle memory. The game going from best of 5 to best of 7 again. You know, some of the changes, like removing mirror matches at one point. Like, what in the world? What were they thinking with that sort of thing? Because I remember when the no mirror matches happened, the enemy team would just insta-lock Kiri Mercy, you'd lose the game every single time. And it's like, okay, we're kind of just like, you know, back then, Kiri Mercy was like such a dynamite, crazy good combo. You know what I mean? And or like they lock in Ashe and with a Mercy pocket, and it's like, that's just not fun to play into. You know what I mean? So, you know, there was all that. But like the craziest part about Stadium, people complain about a lot of characters being broken, right? People complain about a lot of characters being broken. I don't know if I included, yeah, I did include it in my Yap video, but the crazy part is Stadiums have bans available. Like, you can ban characters in Stadium, I believe. Where is it? Is it lobby? Yeah, if you can enable bands. This is something that's an actual feature in the game itself, but they never ported it into the actual normal version of Stadium at all, like the competitive thing. I know a lot of people don't like versing Jetpack Cat. People don't like versing Cassie or Ramatra or like Doomfist or something like that. And it's like, bro, I can just do this.
Let's get a look at our lineups.
Oh my god. Wooyoung, get some contacts. You could do that, but they didn't implement it into the game. Do you understand how much more enjoyable Stadium would have been if people could just ban 1 hero per team? Oh my gosh. It would have been crazy. It would have been so fun. It would have been wild. I'm just really sad about Stadium. It's one of those game modes where I feel like they could have done something to really make it popular, but it just felt like they kind of just gave up. And when they finally did a gigantic update with all these changes to characters, that was it. That was the last season, you know? Like, obviously, they did, like, big Stadium updates, but it seems that most people didn't tap into the big updates. I just don't know if it was advertised well enough. Like, there was a little thing in the trailer saying, oh, we did some big changes to characters in the Stadium, but, like, I don't know if that message got across really well in, like, the trailer, because obviously, you know, with the Season 3 trailer, there's a lot of information that's getting, you know, rallied to you, right? So you might miss a couple of things here and there, or you'll see skins, and you'll be like, whoa, you know what I mean? So, you rest in peace, Stadium. Next one I want to talk about is Ultra Skins. Yes, the Sierra Ultra Skin and the Kiriko Ultra Skin. I do not really have much to go off with this sort of thing, but I think the Ultra Skins, I was going to make a Yap video talking about it. Them being 3,500 coins is kind of absurd, because, you know, like, I do have these skins on my account. They were given to me by Blizzard. You know, you spend your money how you want to spend your money. If you want to buy these skins, sure, go for it. I play gacha games, you know what I mean? I'm not going to tell people how to spend their money, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. But I do think charging 3,500 Overwatch coins for a skin that has, like, some little, you know, colorful ear effects on the side, right? When if you look at it, like, a couple of, like, Kiriko skins, her recent collaboration skin has a lot going on, and this skin is 1,900 coins, whereas, you know, where's a 9 Cafe skin, for example? It's just got little sparkly ears, and it has, like, a little kill effect, right? It has some custom sounds in-game as well, which is really, really cool. But for me, personally, it's something that really draws me to, like, a skin or something like that is, you know, does it have custom sounds? That's why Karopi Lucio skin is really, really good, right? Or does it have special visual effects, right? And that's what makes the mythic weapons, or the mythics in general, really interesting, right? A lot of people kind of clown on some of the most recent mythics being, like, very divine slop, or very focused on, like, divine or cybernetic thing. But regardless, I think Malga's one is really, really cool because of how the guns look, right? I think these ones look really, really cool, right? I think the sound effects are awesome. I think the visual effects are really awesome. I love how there's, like, little special voice lines for it as well. And it's like, I think with Malga's, you know, mythic, if this came out not during the whole, so many skins being, like, divine and, like, angel fly at the screen, go, farts on you and all that sort of stuff, this skin would have probably been well received. But then again, it is Malga, so maybe it wouldn't have been received super well. So, you know, there's all that, right? Ultra skins are a little bit crazy to me personally. I think the best way you can maybe make players a little bit more happy and a little bit more enticed to maybe get these sort of things is maybe let people spend their mythic prisms. I have 590, or maybe you can do a half-half where I spend, let's say, 20 mythic prisms, and then the skin goes down to 1,900. Is that a little bit too much, or is that too little? But it's like, you know, you get so many, like, I have so many mythic prisms because I don't buy a lot of the mythics. I'm waiting for that Lucio one, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, I have a lot saved up, and I don't really use any of it. But it would be nice to maybe use, like, a couple of mythic prisms to be able to get stuff, you know, maybe going for there. But then who knows what that would do for the game in the future, right? Yeah, but yeah, you know, spend your money how you want to spend at the end of the day. I personally, I'm not gonna, like, cuss you out or anything if you have the skin. I'm gonna be like, you bought that skin, but I'm also not really gonna, like, think about it for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? It is what it is, right? You spend your money how you want to do it. I really don't care. But yeah, pricing of it, still absolute dog water. It's still terrible, let's be honest here. Now, we talk a little bit about, like, lore and webtoon stuff. I don't really have much to go into, to be honest, right? The Shion Mizuki thing was absolutely awesome. It was nice to see the backstory of Shion. It's cool to see that Doomfist is, like, back from the dead. You know, I think that's really, really cool. I really do like seeing, like, Overwatch lore being back on track again. It is, like, a little bit confusing of, like, where we're at currently, but seeing the whole stuff going on in Busan with the Junkers is really, really cool. We get Junkrat lore, you know, like, that's it. Oh, well, maybe. I don't know if it's going to be focused on Hammond or something like that, but I do hope we get some lore around Junkrat. That would be really, really fun. And if you also haven't seen it, there's an Overwatch webtoon that's been going on for some while. I've personally tapped out of it. I was reading every single issue when it came out on Wednesday for me, every single time it came out, right? I was paying like the coins to be able to read it early because you can read them now, but they do come out like for free at a later date, right? There's a good bunch of issues on the Webtoon website. You know, maybe when they're all done, you know, maybe me and a couple other streamers can just dub over it for the fun of it. I think that'd be a really, really fun video to make with some streamer friends and all that sort of stuff. You know, let me know if you want to see something like that. I don't know how long this video has been. It's a big, long Yap session, right? But the Webtoon, to me personally, I've kind of tapped out a little bit of it. You know, I love like a little slice of life stuff here and there, but I do feel like nothing really is moving forward. It's a lot of just very, "Ooh, we're setting something up to be continued. We're setting something up to be continued." And I've kind of just stopped buying the issues, and I'm just going to wait for him to come out for free at a later date. I haven't really seen many people tweeting about it on the timeline anymore. The only time people talk about is like, Juno and Wu Young had a conversation with each other, and Wu Young was blushing. And everyone's killing each other over it. And it's just kind of like, I think it's fine to have like a little bit of cheeky romance here and there and all that sort of stuff, you know, no matter the relationship. Like, Anna Hart is canon, you know, in the webcomic. Like, that's awesome. That's so cool. But it's like, at the same time, I also want to see the Overwatch lore like expand a bit. I want to hear about Omnix. I want to hear about the Junkers. I want to hear about Lucio. You know, Lucio's whole lore is nothing. He joined Overwatch and that's it. That's all he does now. He walks around, he goes, "Hi, Juno. I brought some water. I'm going to play some music because I play music. I want to hear about Lucio lore, man. It's so cool. I want to hear about, you know, Patricio. I want to hear about, you know, his dad. I want to hear about his beef with Domina. Like, they have this thing between him and Domina. They don't like each other. And it's like, oh, here comes the potential. There could be something absolutely crazy here. But guess what? Nothing ever happens. Who knows? Maybe something will happen at the Overwatch Spotlight in 2027? What year are we at right now? I don't even care anymore. But yeah, I've tapped out a bit personally. Some people might still be reading it. But, you know, I think Overwatch's lore is a little bit all over the place. The webcomic, I'll probably wait till it's done. Do a little dub video of it. That'll be fun. And then, yeah. This video is going on for so long, so I'm going to wrap it up as fast as possible. I'm so sorry that I made this so long. Challenger score and drives. I do not like Challenger score. Challenger score, if you don't know what this is, it obviously applies to a very small part of the player base, right? But basically, in a nutshell, whenever you win games, you get these little points that go up like beside your rank, so you can be champion. Like, if you look at the 5v5 leaderboard right now, right, it can be very confusing because you have all these champion players here, but you have a GM free player. And you're wondering, why is this guy ranked 5 right now? Well, if you look to the right here, he has 941 games played, and this guy only has 303 games played. The higher rank you are, the more drives point, not the drives point, the more challenger score you get. But it's also just kind of based off playtime. It keeps the game alive in terms of like competitive, right? So it means the queue times are faster. That's the one thing it's really, really good about. But to me personally, like, Aspen is sitting at rank 1 in 6v6, right? She's sitting at rank 1 right now, but she's champion 5. She plays this game a bunch. You have this Zumo guy who has 1,493 games played. They're sitting at, you know, rank 5. And it's like, for me personally, it's like, okay, I climbed a champion, but it doesn't really feel like I'm, you know, climbing up in the top 500 ladder that much. Because number one, yes, I do play the game a whole bunch. But number two, I do like a whole bunch of stuff on Overwatch where I role swap, or I do viewer games, or I do VOD reviews and all that sort of stuff. And I just feel like I get so behind, you know? Like, what is my rank right now in like 6v6? Because I'm not very high up, am I? I'm only at 12k, you know, score. Like, how crazy is that? You know what I mean? You know, how crazy is that? Like, to be able to like, oh man, like, how many games did I say I played? Sorry. 167. Wow, I barely played this season. Although I did play a lot more on Steve, actually. Is he here? Of course he's never here. You know, 9,709. So I basically played 300 games this season compared to Aspen playing who knows how much, right? But yeah, challenger score, I don't think it's really good for the game. It just very much drives up to just engagement and, you know, being rank 1 in this game. Sorry, Aspen, not flaming you in any way whatsoever. Appreciate you heaps. But rank 1 kind of just feels a little bit meaningless, or more so just high ranks in the top 500. Doesn't really feel that, you know, thing to me, because it's like, the other day, I wanted to do it with Aspen, right? But I saw she was rank 1, and I'm like, oh, that must mean she's like champ 2 or something like that. No, she's at champ 5. I'm in range to do it with her. I didn't realize she D-ranked so much. Like, she D-ranked a whole bunch. I think she said herself that it took her, what was it? She said like it took like so long to be able to D-rank down to champ 5, right? And it's like, wow, that is crazy. That is so absurd to me. It's so crazy to me that it took that long, right? But she's still sitting at rank 1, you know? And once again, I'm not flaming Aspen, okay? I'm not flaming Aspen. I just don't think the challenger score really makes much sense whatsoever. I'm just not a fan of it personally. you know, I just think it should be something that should just be reverted, or maybe the game should focus a lot more on like what rank you hit and all that sort of stuff. But then again, a lot of people are climbing to champ 1 now. It seems to be very, very easy for a lot of people. I got to champ 4 in 5s, you know, which was kind of crazy because I was hard stuck GM there, but you know, there's that. And last but not least is drives. Really not much to go off. I think drives is also kind of just an unhealthy system for the game. It kind of just makes people a lot more toxic. I've experienced so many evil people. I got slurred out for like the first time in like months when I was doing my DPS placements, or like I was doing my DPS. I had a Reinhardt level 1 endorsement add me and just spam me with just slurs in my DMs. I'm like, and he's like doing it in a way where it's like numbered and like has asterisks and all that sort of stuff. Like he's censoring himself so he can't get banned, which I haven't got the thank you for reporting thing, so I'm a little bit worried he got away with it. Oh, so angry right now. But yeah, drives feels like a pretty toxic system still to this day. You know, I wonder what they can do to make this a bit more fun. I don't know, like, you know, maybe they can make it in quick play. You can, you know, get drives for doing quick play, but at the same time, it takes a lot more longer so that it's like, oh, you get it faster if you do it in competitive and all that sort of stuff. Because I'll play Stadium, right? People come to my chat and be like, what's the fastest for Stadium drives? Or like, what's the fastest for drives? Stadium or quick play? Or Stadium or competitive? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Whatever you win in, bro. You know what I mean? I don't really know if I have much to go off. I could talk like skins for a bit, but this video is going on for way too long. Yeah, I mean, overall, pretty fun season. Obviously, I complained a lot throughout this video, but I still had a really, really good time. There were a lot of great moments about this season. Tournament stuff was really fun. I have a tournament coming up next season with Demon, and like, you know, we have map reworks and all that sort of stuff. So I think next season is going to be absolutely awesome. Demon is a stalwart tank, but 3 new maps, which means so much more content to cover, which is so fun to me personally. I'll probably do a video reacting to the new maps, you know, first time and doing a good overview at some point on this channel. So, you know, stay tuned. Hope you guys have a good day, good night. Thanks for sticking around in the Yap video. Sorry I didn't really have B-roll footage and I kind of just yap, but yeah, take care of yourselves, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.